Whether you like it or not, there is an inherent risk with our love for two wheels. That could be law enforcement, insurance issues, crashing, or anything else for that matter. Now, we are not legal experts, but we've teamed up with our friends at White Dalton to bring you another series of free legal advice. Hello and welcome to another Legal Corner. Gavin, once again, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We haven't shot a couple of videos in a day at all. Gav's come back to the studio.
Yeah. It's a totally new day today.
So today we're going to talk about some more videos and analyse some more onboard footage that has been kindly been given to us for we can publish, and all parties are happy that we can publish it. So shall we start off with this guy, the filtering through? It's dual carriageway, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's actually the North Circular. So
is it? Okay.
In and around London. Look, I live around that neck of the woods, and I do this all the time. So filtering, one of the joys, I'd say, of motorcycling, because let's be honest, when it's cold and it's wet, we get the brunt of it.
Yeah.
But the benefit is we don't sit in traffic.
Yeah.
So this, I guess, just a note for the viewers: if you know the riders involved in this, if you could just not put their name in the comments below, and that way we'll keep it anonymous.
Yeah.
But filtering, dual carriageway, absolutely legal.
Yeah.
The real crux of this case is the fact that the driver has decided to change lanes at the very last second.
Yes, he had no chance, did he?
Yeah, the biker's got no chance. Yeah, and look, and the biker's there to be seen. You know, the biker's not invisible.
No.
And I think as the video plays, you'll see a second bike turn up and stop to help the first biker. So the cause of action, if you like, is going to be the fact that the duty on the car driver is to mirror, signal, manoeuvre. Now, if you check your mirror, guess what? You'd see a bike there.
Yep.
Then you signal your intention, and you only move when it's safe to. What it looks like, it's a busy London street. The car driver's just seen a gap and he's just gone for it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Now, this particular case, I won't talk about the value of it or the injuries, but what I will say, there is a procedure or a process for low value cases less than £25,000 to go through in England and Wales.
Right, okay.
So this biker fell within that bracket, and what lawyers have to do in this day and age is all electronic. So we have to submit something called a portal notification.
Right.
Now, the portal was set up by the government 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And the idea was to fast track cases where blame's not an issue.
Right, so it's blatantly obvious that this guy's in the wrong. You just fire it in, and it's hopefully a fast track.
Absolutely,
right.
and that's how it should work.
Yeah.
If a biker is unlucky enough to be in this situation, and they get a lawyer on board, and they submit it in this MOJ portal system, they've got 15 working days to respond. So the car driver and his insurance company can respond and go, yep, hands up, we're to blame.
Yeah.
Or they can say, no, we're not to blame, we're going to investigate this. Now, that's actually what happened in this case. So the car driver, I can only assume, has told the insurance company, I've done nothing wrong.
Oh,
the biker's riding like a lunatic or something similar. This was actually one of our lawyers at White Dalton that dealt with this.
Yeah.
And what they did, they just got the evidence they needed from the biker as to his damages, his losses.
They have this camera before in the portal.
Yeah.
So even though they had the footage, they decided that wasn't good enough.
It wasn't good enough. No.
Wow.
No. So
wow.
I mean, don't forget, this is when sometimes you need to lawyer up.
Yeah.
Because with the best will in the world, the car driver might genuinely believe he's done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
The insurance company might genuinely believe they've done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But the car driver, the insurance company, they're not lawyers and they're not judges. So ultimately, if you get someone in your corner that knows what they're talking about, takes one look at it and says, fine, if you want to deny liability, that's fine, you can do that. You don't have to admit blame. But guess what? I'll put it before a judge and they'll order that you are to blame.
Yeah.
So actually, that's what the lawyer in this case did. As soon as they could, they'd gathered evidence of what the case was worth. They'd issued court proceedings. and the lawyer actually made an offer to settle the case on the biker's behalf. Now, you only ever do that once you've got all the evidence you need. So a decent lawyer will be able to tell you it's worth this much money,
right?
But they can only do that once they've got the engineer's report on the bike.
Yeah.
They've got evidence as to your injuries. You know, where do you sit? Is it a low value? Is it high value? And actually, this case, so albeit they denied liability from the outset, when the lawyer valued it and issued court proceedings, the car driver's insurance company turned around and said, yep, we'll pay the money.
Right, okay.
And
okay.
it actually settled. So, but again, that's having a good lawyer in your corner that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And the lawyer in this case was very proactive as opposed to just being reactive.
Yeah.
So he took it on his own back to value the case and put that to the other side. Let's just say the car driver dug their heels in, and so did the insurance company. Said, no, we're not paying you a penny, see you at court. If you go through disclosure, witness statements, you eventually get to a trial, the judge, what will be sat in the courtroom, will look at this, will hear from the witnesses, and will make a decision.
Yeah.
If you then win at trial, the judge is always blind to offers. They can't see them. So the judge will give his judgment, and at that point, the lawyer will stand up and say, dear judge, we offered to settle this case 2 years ago for this much money. We've now come to court and beaten it. There is a real benefit for the biker because the rules stipulate that the biker's then due 10% on top of the value of the case.
Oh, right, okay.
Plus,
is that set in stone?
It's written in the civil procedure
right.
rules.
Yeah.
Their costs will be paid on an indemnity basis,
right?
Which is better than the standard basis.
Yeah.
It means that there's no arguments as to what should be paid. And finally, they get interest at 10% above base rate. The only, I suppose, downside for the biker would be an argument over contributory negligence. So although the car driver's to blame, did the biker do anything to go towards blame on his part? As long as you're going slow enough to respond to a reasonable hazard.
I was going to say, there's no sort of speed limit for filtering, is there?
No, there's not.
It's just a case by case subject, and I guess as you mentioned, if you're careful and you give yourself enough time to react, but no one could have reacted to that.
You don't have to try and think about every folly another driver will perform.
But it's just common sense comes into it a lot.
It does, and it's not written in law. You're absolutely right. So it's not as if though if you're going through there at 40 miles per hour, you're negligent. If you're going through there at 5 miles per hour, you're not negligent. It's a weighing up exercise, and ultimately that's for the judge to determine. I mean, us lawyers, of course, what we do is make sure we gather enough evidence to be able to tell the biker this is what we think.
Yeah.
But in this case, I mean, it's quite telling. I can tell you the case is settled.
Yes.
There were no issues about contributory negligence.
Yeah.
The other side, when they saw the amount of money, they just accepted it and moved on.
Good.
So,
justice was served.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
And just quickly, we're talking of the speed of the bike. I mean, when is filtering not filtering because you're going in between lanes of cars, moving traffic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there another one? Is there another kind of speed for that, or is it just sort of common sense?
Common sense. I mean, it's not written in law. I think if traffic, I'll give you this example. If traffic was moving down there at 60 miles per hour, and you're going through the middle at 90 miles per hour, I think you'd have a tough time in a civil case proving that you're completely blameless. But more importantly, on the criminal side of things, you might end up committing an offence of careless riding.
Yes.
So
that was my next. Okay.
So in this particular case, there was no prosecution.
Yeah.
No prosecution against the bike driver, rider or the car driver. I think the police looked at it and went, "Well, there we go.
Yeah.
It's an equal split in relation to your party to blame, your party to blame." But the police are not judges. So the civil case, like I said, we ran it. We got a full valuation on the claim for damages, albeit liability itself was never dealt with. That's quite common. In fact, you'll find that happens quite a lot. A biker might not always get an admission on liability because, let's say, car driver just says, "I've done nothing wrong," and they want to go all the way to court. their insurance company can always make a payment and say, we understand you're not to blame, and that's your opinion.
Yeah.
However, we're your insurance company, and we're the ones that's going to get hit with a big bill if this goes wrong. So they can almost pull rank, as it were, and say, we're going to pay out. So yeah, on this one, pretty straightforward. Sadly, happens all the time.
And now we have another video submitted for us to use on the channel by the biker himself. So, Gav, if you'd like to explain what happened, I mean, it's pretty obvious what happened.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Well, first of all, I probably should make this clear. No judgment against the biker.
No.
So, lovely country lanes, left, right,
Yeah.
on a Ducati ST3, comes round a bend and sees a van ahead, but no indication.
Yes, that's the key. That's the key thing here.
Yeah. So there's
no indication.
There's nothing to tell the biker at that stage that the van driver is doing anything other than just going straight. And as you'll see, the sort of road opens up. So on a bike, just a little bit of throttle, and you're absolutely galloping past slower moving traffic. Where it goes wrong here is the van driver then slams on the brakes and just turns right without any indication. In fact, I'm just watching the video again. I don't think there's any brake lights.
This is the thing that confused me. So if you look at it, as the guy comes around the corner, the van is so far ahead in the shot, and he's moving away. And you think, okay, there's plenty of time to come around the corner, and all of a sudden, you can't even see brake lights. There's no brake lights, and he's just, sorry, I'm going to turn right. So I mean, that guy again. Initially, when I looked at it, I was like, that could have been avoided, but no indication, no brake lights, and the way. And that guy on the Ducati, he wasn't speeding. He wasn't a Sunday ride after World Superbikes going, let's go and have some fun, boys. It was just what I thought was pretty harmless to turn into something pretty bad.
Yeah. Now,
hang on, cut.
The only thing against the biker in this case, despite there being no brake lights, no indication, the problem you've got is overtaking in the vicinity of a junction. I think the primary liability rests with the van driver. However, the biker always has to accept some blame if they've gone for a cheeky overtake like that.
I guess, and from the biker's point of view, he's come around the corner, he's gone, slam on the brakes and wait for a guy who's clearly dawdling and process this all at the same time. It came around pretty quickly, or go for the overtake, and most of us would go for the overtake, wouldn't we?
Yeah. So, no, I've done the same. In fact, something similar to that happened on a ZZR, and I just managed to nip past the vehicle in front.
Yeah.
No indication, no brake lights, just
swung
right.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and then, I had to sort of slow down after that. But so in this particular case, the lawyer that actually was dealing with this case at White Dalton didn't mess around, issued court proceedings against the van driver. You can see there it's a commercial van.
Yes.
So they actually brought a counterclaim against the biker. Because what they were saying was that, look, we might be to blame, but we're not entirely to blame.
Right, okay.
And we've got damage to our van, which you have to pay for.
Okay.
Now, the fact is this, everyone's insured. Mm-hmm. So
nearly.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, almost, yeah. In this case, they were.
Yeah, okay.
The biker, sadly, is injured.
Is he?
He was injured. And I say it's a higher value case because in this system, we basically put claims in either less than 10 grand, 10 to 25, or above 25.
Right, and he was above 25.
Sadly. So I think we get days before the trial where we've got the biker turning up to give evidence, and finally the other side come to the table to try and agree some sort of split on liability. Now, I think the starting point might have been a 50-50 type case. This case here actually settled on a 60-40 split. So it was 60% in the biker's favour,
right?
But he had to reduce his claim by 40% to take into account the fact he was overtaking.
I think that's deeply unfair, but that's just my opinion.
And I suppose I can see how people would think it's unfair, just as a sort of outlook. But what a lawyer's job is to really advise you on the risks. And if there were no offers, that's good. You just crack on. You go to trial and you go, well, we'll have to accept whatever the judge says. Where they start making offers, you have to be really careful, because what you don't want to be going to trial, having the judge give a judgment, and then ultimately not beating the other side's offer.
Yes.
Because
So
there's all
it's
sorts
always
of
a
cost
gamble.
consequences.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what it comes down to. It comes down to a bit of a gamble.
Yeah.
So a good lawyer should always navigate you around those problems. And generally speaking, if there's lots of case law which a lawyer can point to say, look, these have gone before judges in the past,
Yeah.
and this is roughly where a judge will fall, whether it's a 20% reduction, a 40%, a 50%, or even more
Yeah.
than that. Generally speaking, if I just talk about speed for a moment, because that was not the biggest part of this case, but it might become relevant for other cases.
Right.
As a rule of thumb, if you are going a little bit too quick, expect a 20% reduction. So an 80-20 split.
Really?
Yeah. If you're going...
So they thought he was going too quickly?
I think it was that together with overtaking in the vicinity of a junction. I think that's that was the real key in
Okay.
this particular
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
There's a junction there.
Fair enough.
What do people do? They move in and out of junctions. You need to be alert to it. But as a general idea, if you're going way too quick,
Yeah.
it's probably a 40% reduction. I mean, I've dealt with cases where the biker's sort of doing double the speed limit. We're talking 85, 90 in a 40.
Oh, right.
And they've had an accident. And then speed plays such a big factor,
Yes.
they might take a 70% reduction.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, on these bikes, they're easily done. We've got Lita sports bikes that will do double the speed limit in first gear. So just for bikers to be aware of,
Yeah.
or this case settled, albeit it settled on a 60-40 basis, the real issues were vicinity of a junction,
Yeah.
and excess speed, probably less so, but we see that quite a lot.
Well, I think a lot of it is just don't ride like a dick.
That's probably good legal advice. Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Thanks, Gav.
Thank you very much.
See you in the next one. See you in the next Legal Corner.